Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Mike Rambuya, your average Joe card slinger, and today for our Lorcana deck profile, given that the day I post this is Valentine's Day, I figured it'd be a fun time to talk about a deck that's indulged in a little bit of self-love, one may say. So, for today's deck profile, we are looking at one I have doubly named the Court of Maleficent. It is a purple-blue, so a amethyst sapphire deck. Um, and we're gonna go through kind of why this is kind of self-love deck, but we're definitely focusing on just a handful of characters and hopefully getting them onto the field to do some cool things. But there are some goals to this deck. So the goals of this deck is we're going to return cards to our opponent's hands. That's the just main thing of trying to limit our opponent's capability, either by returning items or characters is kind of our biggest triggers there. As we do through the deck breakdown, I'm going to point out the cards that kind of inspired this deck and kind of where my mindset was as I was building it. Next thing is we're going to be doing a lot of drawing and also using draw triggers. There is a Maleficent in here that does have a trigger every time you draw, and definitely have put in plenty of cards to help us get to draw cards out of our deck. However, we're also going to be controlling the draw. There's also going to be plenty of effects that I've put in here that allow us to look at the top of our deck and either put the card at the bottom or rearrange the order. So, first things first is we got to figure out what we're using to complete this goal, and we are going to go through the deck breakdown. So, first we'll go through the characters and then we'll go through actions and items and locations next. But first we're using 4 copies of Diablo. This is the 1 cost, 2 strength, 1 willpower, 1 lore when questing. Looking for Aurora. Whenever you play a character named Maleficent, and as you can tell from the character sheet to the right, or to the side I should say, we have plenty of options to do that. You may look at the top of your card, either put on the top or the bottom of your deck. So there's the first example of, hey, we're going to try to control what card we draw next. Which is good because here's Diablo Obedient Raven. It is a 1 cost inkable, 0 strength, 1 willpower. Fly, my pet. When this character is banished, you may draw a card. So if we use the effect of the other Diablo and we play out a Maleficent, we can then figure out, oh, what am I going to draw next? Ooh, I really don't want that. Put it at the bottom, and then it's like, you know what? I'm going to get my Diablo banish, and that way I can draw hopefully the next card. Or if it's a card I do want, I'm going to get it to draw. So there's our first kind of another draw effect. Next, 1 cost, non-inkable Maleficent, biding her time, 1 strength, 1 willpower, gains 2 war when questing. Straight vanilla card, but an easy way to get a Maleficent on the field, which will be important when we get to some of the other ones. We have a 2 cost inkable Maleficent, 2 strength, 2 willpower, quests for 2 lore, just pretty solid one to get out there, and pretty cheap to start generating lore in the early game. Next up is Yzma, Alchemist, 2 cost inkable, 2 strength, 2 willpower, 1 lore when questing. Its effect, you are excused when this character quests. Look at the top of your card, put it either at the top or bottom. Again, just try and see what our next draw is going to be. Next, got ahead of myself there. The Queen, cruelest of all, 2 cost inkable, 0 strength for willpower, quests for 1, and it has ward. Opponents can't choose this character except to challenge. Just kind of a card to get out there. Also just good ink fodder. That's kind of again, for those not familiar with Lorcana, you have to kind of sacrifice your own cards to gain the resources as we in this game is called inking. So you take these cards and you put them into your inkwell, and that's kind of your mana, similar to playing lands in Magic. But you have to use your own cards in your deck. So it's good fodder, and given that it's ward, it can't be targeted by any effects. But there's a location we'll talk about later that can kind of help even make these cards that don't quite work with my theme, make them useful in some cases. Next is a 3-cost Maleficent, 2 strength, 2 willpower. When you play this character, you may draw a card. It quests for 1. So there, use an effect to see what your top card is, and then you can play this out to draw it if it's what you seriously want. Next is a 3-cost, 0 strength, 4 willpower Maleficent, the Vexed Partygoer. Can quest for 2 lore. Whenever this character quests, you may choose and discard a card to return chosen character, item, or location with 3 costs or less to the player's hand. So this is the first example of, hey, I'm going to discard something, and I'm going to say, hey, this can go back to your hand. So this is kind of our early example. It's pretty early with only 3 lore, only costs 3 ink to play. Plus, it will team up with an item we'll talk about later to really help make discarding extremely worth it. Next, we're up to our 4-cost inkable Magicka Dispel, Thieving Sorceress, 3 strength, 4 willpower. She has telekinesis. You can tap her and return chosen item with cost equal to or less than this character's strength to its player's hand. 3 is pretty good. You'll get rid of a lot of decent items. That a lot of good items are 3 or lower. Plus, there's another character I have in this deck that's going to help increase the strength to make it even more wider targets. Another 4 costs to play inkable card of Maleficent, Sinister Visitor, 3 strength, 4 willpower, can quest for 2 lore. Again, very low cost, very good questing card. It's just a good card to have to get your lore up at 2 for each time you quest. We have the Queen, Mirror Seeker. 4 to play. It is inkable. 2 strength, 5 willpower. Whenever this character's quest, and a quest is for 1 lore, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them in any order. This is where more of that's going to come in handy, of a more repeated effect of looking, hey, here's the top 3. Okay, I want to put this at top, and then triggering a draw effect and getting exactly what you need. 5-cost inkable Maleficent, Mistress of All Evil. She's 2 strength, 3 willpower, quests for 2 lore. Whenever this character quests, you may draw a card, but also has an effect called Divination. During your turn, whenever you draw a card, you may move 1 damage counter from chosen character to chosen opposing character. So let's say the Queen, Cruelest of All, who can only be hit with challenging, has been taking a few licks, and you just say, you know what, I'm going to trigger a draw. Either through Diablo beating Raven, either playing through a Maleficent. Some of the actions we'll talk about later. So now, not only can you get, because this is not a once per turn type deal, this is just during your turn, whenever you draw a card. So you play a card that allows you to draw, you can move a damage counter. And then you can quest with this Maleficent to move another damage counter. So, pretty fun stuff, a way to kind of heal your character up and then damage some of your other characters. This is especially good if you're going against characters with resist, because since you're moving damage, they are not technically taking the damage, therefore the resist effect does not take an effect, does not work. Another 5 cost to play, inkable Dong Hu, Talon Chief, 3 strength, 5 willpower. Your other villain characters, which this deck is full of gain support. Whenever they quest, you may add their strength to another character's strength. So you get this card out, and then so all your other villain cards gain support. You quest with them, and you have a Magic DeVille, the Thieving Sorceress. Guess what? Now she can, rather than moving an item of 3 or lower costs back to your opponent's hand, let's say it's one of Maleficent's ones. Maleficent, Sinister Visitor, which was 3. So now you quest, gain support. Well, now Magic Dispel, Thieving Sorceress, is now a 6 strength character. So guess what? Now you can return a 6 cost item from to your opponent's hand. So that's kind of how that combos off. And we're using 1 copy of her. Unfortunately, with these higher cards, I didn't get as many copies. So we just have to deal with that. Next is another one I only have 1 of, is Maleficent, the Uninvited. 5 costs, inkable, 3 strength, 6 willpower, and just straight 3 lower every time she quests. So she quests, she gets strength to whoever she wants. Just a good card to have. It is later in the game at the cost of 5, but pretty well to maybe ramp up your lore gain and come closer to ending the game. This is a 7 cost non-inkable Magicka Dispel the Midas Touch, 4 strength, 6 willpower. You can play her with a shift of 5 to you can shift 5, which allows you to play her at a cost of 5 on top of another Magicka Dispel. Whenever this character quests, gain lore equal to the cost of one of your items in play. So we do have a few items. There's definitely a staple item we want to be using. It's decently high value. It's decently valued, so every time you quest, you can gain that much lore. So very cool character. Definitely gets to use some of your items and at a hitter of 4 strength. Plus, if you add any of the other 3 strength characters to them, thanks to Dang Hu's support effect, or giving all of the other villains support, easily becomes a 7 strength, and that can definitely take out banish some characters off the board. And last, and the card that kind of inspired all of this, was Maleficent, Formidable Queen. In 8 costs, 7 strength, 7 willpower. You can pay 6 if you play it on top of vanilla Maleficent. She quests for 2. When you play this character, for each of your characters named Maleficent, and again, plenty to choose from, return a chosen opposing character, item, or location with cost 3 or less to the player's hand. Given that we have 2, 6, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18 different Maleficents you can have on the field. If your opponent has a bunch of lower cost cards, you have basically wipe out the entire field. That's very, very, very like wishful thinking, but this type of effect is definitely going to go well with a card, with an item we're going to talk about. But this is kind of the card I used to inspire this deck, and kind of put as many Maleficents as I could into it. But yeah, at a 7 strength, basically can take out pretty much anything on the field. Dang Hu support, give your other villains, use them to strengthen her up if you have a big target or you need to get rid of location. So those are our characters. Now we're going to the second part of the deck breakdown. We're going to talk about our actions, items, and locations. First of all, we're going to talk about Befuddle. Return a character or item with 2 or less cost to their player's hand. Very cheap card to use to kind of remove an effect out of your field and work with an item we're going to talk about here in a bit. Next, Visions of the Future. This is a 2 cost inkable action. You can look at the top 5 cards, put one into your hand and the rest into the bottom of your deck. Another way, if you use Yzma's effect, if you use Diablo's effect, when you play Maleficent, you look at the top of your cards like, oh, I really want that. Now I'm going to play Vision of the Future. Oh, hey, I got it. And you know what? These cards I'm not going to use too often. I'm going to put them to the bottom of my deck. So another way we're trying to manipulate our draws and as well as get the cards in our hand that we really need. A 5-cost non-inkable action of seeking the half crown. For each sorcerer character you have in play, you pay 1 less to play this action. Given all the Maleficents and the Queen all can also have the sorcerer traits, this easily can become a card you can play for free, if not significantly cheaper. And you just draw 2 cards. So again, use the effects that allow you to see what's on top of your deck, get some sorcerers out there. Now you have pretty much a free draw 2. But speaking of draw 2, we have the song Friends on the Other Side. It's a 3 cost, but since it's a song, you can tap a character of 3 that has a play cost of 3 or more to play that song for free. That way you don't have to use your ink. Plenty of level 3s and level cost 3s and cost 4s to make this easy. But again, getting cards into our hand and trigger the Maleficent effect of returning cards to your opponent's hand. We Know the Way is another song. It's a 3-cost inkable. Shuffle chosen card from your discard into your deck. Reveal the top card. If it has the same name as the chosen card, you may play the revealed card for free. Otherwise, put this into your hand. Again, plenty of Maleficents with the same even title. So it's just kind of a great way. It's like, you know what? I want to put this card back into my deck, and hopefully I can top deck another one off the top and get it and play it for free. It is a bit of a risk, but given there's so many copies of the same card, pretty well the risk. And plus, it's a 3-cost song, so you've put plenty of 3-cost characters to play for free. And at most, you have now just put a card you need back in your deck so you can draw later. So those are our actions. Moving on to our items. We're using 3 copies of the Amos Chromacon. It's a 2-cost inkable item, and basically you tap it and each player may draw a card. Again, triggering the Maleficent draw effect, and just right now you get free draws. Given the effects you have to look at the top of your cards, you can definitely play Maleficent, trigger Diablo, the Faithful Pet. It's like, oh, I really want this card. I'm going to tap my Animus Chromacon, and yes, that gives my opponents a chance to draw, but really doesn't matter. I'm getting the card I need. They may not get a card they need. Maleficent Staff is another key card for this combo we're kind of going for. It's a 2-cost inkable item. So what Maleficent Staff does is whenever one of your opponent's cards, items, or locations is returned to their hand from play, gain 1 lore. So given we have a Maleficent that can return numerous items based on the number of Maleficents you have on the field, super easy to really either catch up if you fall behind or even end the game. And again, we have plenty of effects that allow us to return cards to our players' hands, and it's a 2-cost item. We have enough cards to hopefully manipulate our draws so we can get in our hand and then play it on the field, and we're using 3 copies of that. Lastly is our locations. First location is the library, a gift for Belle. It's a 3 inkable cost. It has 1 cost to move, and it has 8 willpower. Whenever a character is banished while here, you may draw a card. We have the Diablo. If it gets banished, draw a card. So if it gets banished here, you get a draw from it being banished, and you get a draw from the location effect. So there's 2 cards to draw. Trigger the 2 the Maleficent draw trigger where you can return items 3 costs or less, and or return characters or items 3 costs or less, and then team that up with Maleficent, so you have a chance now to return 2 items, gain 2 lore. And now you can kind of see where it all's coming together. And lastly, the King's Castle. It's a 4-cost inkable. Costs 1 to move, has 7 willpower. At the beginning of your turn, you gain 2 lore. So that's kind of a benefit of locations is the passive lore. At the start of your turn, for each character you have here, draw a card. Again, look, another draw effect. Look, we get to trigger Maleficent's effect of returning a card of 3 cost or less to my opponent's hand 2 times, 3 times, whatever. And since it has such a low cost, it shouldn't be that bad. And there's kind of the deck for you. I did put this deck up in Dreamborn. Link will be in the description down below. But here is, again, the review of the deck. And overall, I am excited with this. I have not, unfortunately, got a chance to test it. But that's okay. So, with all that, that's where we're going to end today's video. I want to thank you guys very much for taking your time to watch today's video. If you like it, please let me know what other Lorcana decks you want me to see. Maybe some other cards, colors. Hey, let me know what you think about the new set. If you haven't, there's a new set coming out in March, and we're getting an introduction to 2 colored ink cards. And I'm very excited for that. So come March, more like April, you're gonna see some of those decks that I've slapped together. Other than that, may your pulls be blessed, stay safe, and have a good day. Bye bye.